In this video, I'm going to walk you through how I use TouchDesinger to create an audio-reactive particle system. And I use that to create a visualizer for my first audio release fully charged under the artist label T13E. But first, it's time for random acts of cuteness. Just to give you that little something special so that you'll stick around, you might find random acts of cuteness. Aww. This is video number 4 of a 5-part series that I'm working on. I've got version 1 out, still working on 2 and 3. Alright, let me shut up for a second so you can actually hear the music moving the particles. Alright, well that's the cool part to me, is the fact that you kind of get that phasing effect of wow, kind of causing the particles to push, and if you pay attention you'll see the particles sliding to one side or the other depending on how the music's playing. It's actually a whole volumetric thing, and we'll get into how we made this. Before I stop it though, I do think it's interesting how the particles slow down as the bass slows down, and then as the bass picks back up, they start swarming around again. Let me give you a quick overview on exactly how I landed on this solution. Okay, as I mentioned before, I started my first music label, well, it's my music label, I guess, T13E, my artist name, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it basically is a numeronym for Tech-Multiverse, so it was kind of couldn't come up with anything better. I thought it was fun, and I wanted to I plan on putting a bunch of audio-reactive art, I think, on this channel. And this was the first time I'd ever tried it. And what was interesting is this video that I created was more or less based on the album cover. I had an album cover that I hadn't really thought through very well. Like, what am I going to do with this visually? And so I kind of got the idea that let's take the particles that are in this and see if we can come up with something that, let's get that out of the way. Come up with something so that it kind of naturally flowed with the look and feel of the album cover. I don't know. I've learned that I need to really think through this more carefully in the future. So I'm going to create the cover based on the visual that I'm going to make for the song, I think. We'll see. But anyway, I needed something to just get my channel going for YouTube. At some point it's going to become my original artist channel, but I'm going through the process of that and recording all the details of exactly how I got there. But I want to talk about the inspiration for learning TouchDesinger to do this. I've done TouchDesinger videos before, which you can actually, one of my more popular videos are where I did Audio-Reactive DMX, where I had lighting that jumps around or moves around. Oh, I don't know. Did I do it back here somewhere? Yeah, I used TouchDesinger to have lighting move to the music using DMX. And so now there's music playing in the background, and that's part of why I wanted to start creating my own music, because I ended up with a copyright strike on, not a strike, but someone else is getting credit for me playing that music. And I'm like, hey, I'm gonna make my own music. So I thought it'd be fun. So at some point I thought, well, let's figure out if we can make something. And I started studying other people's work. And here's one. I don't know how to say your name. Paolia. Apologize for that, totally destroying that. But this was really inspiring to me, and one of the things that became obvious was the audio analyzer. I didn't know there was such a thing. When I did the original video, I did DMX. I didn't use an audio analyzer, and audio analyzer is really cool. So then I thought, well, I don't really want to I want something particles. So I thought, let's look at the pops. And this to me seemed really cool. This is a brand new particle operator I'm sure you're familiar with, and I really like jellyfish. And I didn't really want to create this. I just wanted to understand how this worked to see if maybe I could have dancing jellyfish, maybe. Wasn't really sure. That then turned into this audio-reactive cloud. I wish I would have set this up better, sorry. And this I liked. I thought, okay, we're getting closer. And that's when I learned that this one was using the particles GPU operator as opposed to the new pops, and it really gave me everything I needed with the volume. They were using a sphere and applying basically the sound was affecting the forces, and that's exactly what I used to get mine moving. I just adjust my settings so that it kind of overlapped with my image. Let's dig in a little bit further into how I applied the techniques that I learned from this tutorial. But first, it's time for random acts of cuteness. Okay, so I've started up TouchDesinger, and this was the cool thing to me was the audio analyzer, and we're able to use that to basically distribute the portions of the music as we want to control them. And that's where I thought, okay, this is way better than what I was using before. And you can analyze a variety of things and break those out. I still only used the low, medium, and high, but I kept that there just to kind of remind me that I can see how some of these were working actually, because you'll notice some of these move slower. They amp up as the song gets going and come down slowly. So I thought, well, maybe there's something I could do. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it. But as I was about to say, the particles GPU node operator, this is the one that I ended up using over the actual pops operator. But let's get into exactly what I had before this. Let's take a quick look here though. Forces, that's where we're applying all this. You can see I have the different turbulence and everything set up for low, medium, and high, and then I have the transformation. So I have the particle itself set to a, let's see, rendering it as a box, and then we're changing the size of the box subtly, the number of points, and the big one is the forces, and that's where you're kind of getting that wave effect from. It just happened to turn out that phasing sound. I don't know what you even call it. I've got another video where I'll talk about how I made this song, but that turned out to be almost perfect. So I thought, well, hey, you know, this is good enough. I'm learning a lot throughout this process, and yeah, so let's just get into the versions that I ended up with before I got here. Now here's where I was first working with particle operators based on the jellyfish. And that one was definitely telling me I was getting something, but man, oh man, does it get crazy. I'm actually gonna turn down the volume a little bit, because as it gets kicking, let's hide this. What a mess that turned out to be. That was pretty intense, but I was understanding particle operators better at least. Let's see which version we get here. I need to clean up my files. Here we go. This is what the jellyfish ended up becoming to help me understand more about how to control the particles. I've seen videos where they use waveforms and create waveforms with I don't know. I've just seen TouchDesinger tutorials where they create like visualizers that end up being waveforms. This kind of aligns with that. Turn that down a little bit, and that's where I felt like I understood particle operators better, but it just wasn't giving me the effect that I wanted. And again, I'll put this as part of the jellyfish tutorial. It's where I ended up after the jellyfish tutorial. This next one's the last attempt I took at particle operators. and I'll let this play for a second so you can see how this turned out. It wasn't great, it didn't match the tutorial very well, but it helped me get most of what I needed. And so you can see it kind of starts moving more as the bass kicks in, but it does some pretty cool stuff, and that's where I started realizing everything I needed to put in place. And now we get everything jumping around. Alright, so let me get into a couple details here that I have not seen. Well, I had to go hunt down, we'll say. One of the things, like I said, I used the particle GPU operator, and then I used the ramp to create the color based on my album cover. And the album cover itself, it took me a bit to figure out exactly how to get that in. I had to use a movie file in. Let's turn this down a little bit more. Whoops. Don't save this. Let's just turn it off. Basically, the movie file in is where I brought in the image, and then I had to composite that over a black background because the the aspect ratios were different, and then I transformed it so that it was just a slight touch smaller than the background, so that kind of faded in to black there. And then I created a null, which is the actual visual. And I still don't understand why a null is used for the visual, but hitting that blue button right there is what did it. And then this is the other side of things where the movie file out, I had to set things up to go using a photo motion JPEG in order to get the video out properly with the current non-commercial license. So it took me a little bit of learning to do the background piece. So the audio-reactive piece came from the other tutorials, and I just kind of had to hunt down how to get the image in the background. And that's once I had the image in the background, then I started tweaking the particles themselves to make sure that they fit size-wise, making sure that they weren't too large, that they faded in and out properly, and the color obviously was part of that. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean, that's basically where I landed. And once I had this going, I felt, hey, you know what? This is good enough. And I've learned a lot from this. And we'll see where we go in the next TouchDesinger tutorial. But I know I can tell you right now, I'm going to be heading into doing some videos, actually some audio visualizations using Unreal Engine and audio from my next track, which I haven't made yet, but we'll be using Unreal Engine for that one because I'm really interested in the motion design tool there. I'll be sure to put links to all those tutorials that I followed in the description, and if you're interested in learning how I made this song, I'm going to be making my next videos. I'll talk about how I take it from a loop to an arrangement, and then I'm even going to take it into how I mixed the track and got it prepped for distribution, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm currently recording what happened after the distribution. So if you're interested in watching any of that stuff, be sure to subscribe, and I'll be posting those videos soon. And I've shared an awful lot of my journey so far on my blog at tech-multiverse.com, and you can also go to t13e.com, where is my new music landing page where you can explore both the technology and the music and actually listen to my track on streaming services. Thanks a lot for watching.